Welcome and thank you for tuning in to the Human Training Your Dog is Begging You for podcast. Need help understanding your dog and the behaviors? You've come to the right place. I'm Laura Countryman. Charles is not in today. Founders of Canine Culture Dog Training in Dallas. And we have Julie, our lead trainer. And joining us, special guest is Mo, one of our senior trainers here. Hi, Mo.
Hi.
From training, behavioral, emotional issues to the health and happiness of your dog. We want to help you understand your dog better, learn more about creating behaviors we'd like to see more, and hopefully learn how to replace some of those behaviors you'd like to see less of. Our goal is to help you and your dog improve the relationship together. On this episode, we're going to go over what it's like to actually be a professional dog trainer in canine culture. But I think in a lot of places, most dog trainers do the same kind of routine that we do. So, Julie, what does it look like on day one of a dog coming in to this building to start his day board and train?
So you mean whenever I get them out for the first time?
Sure.
I think things are very depending on what the dog is here for. If the dog is here for anxiety or stress, things like that, the first session, the whole thing is going to be, you have to be very patient. You have to make sure that you don't do anything that could cause added stress or frustration towards the dog. But now that also applies to other cases, like aggressive cases and things like that. I think the first day to me is no matter what kind of dog you have, it's spent on relationship building skills. So there's a lot of things that you're doing. You're trying to figure out a way to understand the dog, to get the dog to get to know you. And it's not really, sometimes it's not always fun. It's just about doing the simplest of things so the dog doesn't think or see you as an enemy or somebody who's trying to hurt them. And so typically in those kinds of cases, the first couple of days can be very trying. You're just trying to get them to, again, be comfortable with you. Yeah, that would be, at least that's my answer.
So what do you do, Mo, when you get your puppy out? Say it's just a normal dog, just needs training, 6-month-old golden puppy.
If it's a happy-go-lucky dog, I definitely try to introduce play. I love to play with my dogs. I love to make especially our first session, a really positive experience for them. So playing a lot, maybe do some food play, some luring, seeing what toys they're really interested in, just kind of really getting to know my dog before we really start to get into like some obedience and stuff like that. And when a dog, is really comfortable, you can tell sometimes they will like to go into obedience, and we can even use that as like a bonding exercise as well. So if I notice a dog is comfortable, with going on plays, sitting, downing, we'll go ahead and start that. Be very playful about it, and they really enjoy it. It's really fun.
So the first week, basically, we're getting the foundations and bonding with the little puppies and the big puppies. Because we get all the dogs here, the big ones, the little ones, the cute ones. So the first week, it's usually slower than the following weeks. But if you don't put your time in the first week, then makes the whole next 2-3 weeks not fun.
Right.
For the doggy.
Right. Yeah, you want to make sure that you put in your foundations and everything for all the obedience. A lot of times I think when we get dogs that are easier, if you want to put it that way, some trainers will skip over the foundations, and you can see how it's going to affect the training or the overall just obedience as the weeks pass on, because suddenly they're going to need them to do X, Y, and Z outside when they're doing recalls at some park. And suddenly that little bit of foundation that they didn't work on that first week is going to make that difference. So, yeah.
So do we have the dogs out training 8 hours at a time?
Oh, no. We do short sessions. And, depending on the dog, some dogs, thrive off of shorter sessions. Some dogs need a little bit longer sessions. So it just really depends on the dog and what they need in that instance.
So how we train here, trainers usually have between 2 and 4 dogs a day. So they're rotating the dogs in and out, and then they get napped. So as they're working, no matter if they're on week 1, week whatever, they get tired. They get mentally tired. Some dogs are home dogs that aren't out doing much. So the first week, definitely they are tired. They can be physically tired. So that's why they need time in their kennel just to relax, and they also are processing what they learned. So if you do it correctly, when you get them out that second time or the third time, they've processed it and they do a little better each time, a little better. That's what you're looking for, right, Mo? A little better each time.
For sure. We're definitely looking for progress in each session. So, we want to make sure that whatever we're doing, we've either learned something new or we are learning something new. So we want to really look for a progression. If we don't see any progress, it's just want to make sure that we are really, like Julie said, the foundation is super important. I totally agree that the first week should be focused a lot on foundation. That's even the simple stuff like sit. We have to work on that impulse control. We have to really work on, setting the boundaries in place, for whenever we transfer it out into the real world. Because realistically, we're not going to stay at the facility forever. People are trying to take their dogs, out in public. People are trying to take their dogs places with them. So we really want to make sure that we set all of those foundations in place for them so that they can transfer it into their home life.
So dog trainers aren't just out there playing with the puppies all day.
No.
And we're also really trying to make sure to talk with the owners as well, almost daily. I mean, I know I contact my owners. I just got off the phone with my owners actually. So I try to, see what their goals, what their expectations are, and also make it very clear, hey, this is something that, may not be done in 3 weeks, but we can definitely set that foundation and set you up for the success to be able to work through your issues at home. And, we're not just going to be like, okay, bye, 3 weeks is over, but we stay in contact with the owners. We actually enjoy working with the owners.
So you're saying a large part of being a dog trainer is being a people trainer?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we can train these dogs to
jump off walls,
to walk off leash and be off leash at trails. And if the owners aren't going to put in even the slightest bit of work, it's not going to work because this isn't a quick fix.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I think that's where a lot of people think that being dog trainers is just all about fun. I have so many friends who are like, "Oh, you get to play with puppies all day and you do this and you do that." And I'm like, "Let me just list you a few things that I do that is not that fun. I help clean kennels, pick up crap all the time. I have to cut my little treats and all these little bits and pieces to make sure I'm not giving, a whole bunch of treats to my dogs. Like there's a lot of little things about being a dog trainer that is not it's not that glamorous, if you want to put it that way. But it all ends up in the small picture. But I think what's interesting is how people think again that it's all about the dogs. They don't actually recognize just how much we have to interact with people because at the end of the day, the dogs didn't sign up for this. They didn't come here and go, cool, I'm signing myself up for obedience. Like there's a person that decided to do this. And so if they don't know how to do X, Y, and Z when we're training, then the dog's not going to be able to be set up for success later on. So it's very much about being able to relay information to someone and essentially just teach a person. And sometimes that doesn't work for everybody. And you can have all the passion in the world for dogs, but if you don't know how to be with a person, like how to talk to a person and explain, then you might as well kind of throw that out the window.
For doggy daycare. No.
Definitely have to do a lot of teaching.
Yeah.
And making it, very clear as to, what's expected.
And dog training takes a lot of doing the same thing with the dog over and over, but trying to make it fun for the dog so they don't get bored. Because sit is sit. But you have to make it so the dog actually wants to do that over and over every day for you until they actually understand the sit. And it takes 1 to 3,000 reps in different areas and different places and different everything for a dog to actually kind of sort of know how to sit. And then as it goes on in his life, do the same thing. But I don't think people understand that. Sometimes it's just boring. Dog training. It's just repetition, clarity, keep your mind on it and not get bored, make it fun.
Yeah, I think the boring part of the training is actually the most effective part.
Yes.
That's what I tell my owners all the time. I'm like, the most boring part of the training is the most important part of the training, especially when you have a young dog that needs to get socializing and exposure. Like a lot of time people will mistake socializing for taking their dog to the dog park, letting them interact with every single person that they meet, every dog that they meet. But it's really just getting, exposure to the world, like sitting and doing nothing, especially like on a place cot or, sitting at a park or a bench or, sitting outside a busy area. That's very effective. It's very important to do that type of stuff.
Turn it off.
They learn to turn it off. They learn how to relax, be more calm in their own mind.
And that's something I don't think people understand. Dogs don't know how to turn it off. Some dogs don't know how to turn it off. They just are on and on. Or some dogs know how to turn off and on, but they don't know how to just be chill. because that's a good thing too. You just want your dog just to be a dog and not be crazy psycho or not be sleeping.
And it all goes back to whatever they're doing at home.
Yeah.
Like I think a lot of the dogs who come into us are coming from families where they allow their dogs to just roam and do nothing or find their own entertainment, and so that
Yes.
bites them in the butt later
Yes.
because they realize that their dog is going around and, like, trying to figure things out on their own, and that's not what they need. They need more structured kinda lifestyle.
Yeah.
So
And they do. And if they were in a pack of dogs, they have very much structure. They might not look like they have structure, but they have structure. So Mo, can you tell us one of your favorite dogs to train and how that went from
Ooh.
start to finish? I know I just threw that on you.
Man, that is hard. I mean, anybody who knows me here knows I love every dog that I work with,
Yes.
like wholeheartedly. Oh, I think it would have to be Fergie, and I'll have to say Fergie
Oh,
because
yeah.
Julie has been on this journey with me. Fergie was a very odd case, to say the least.
She was
Like
very
this dog
she was
was,
bizarre.
yeah, she was weird. She was a little weird. So, long story short, owners had her for 6 months. Between the halfway mark there, the 3 month period. The last 3 months, she had gained some like crazy territorial issues, some little bit of
Really
resource
quick.
guarding.
What kind of dog? How old?
I think she was about a year, and she was a hound dog.
Okay.
So she was a funky little hound dog. And what she would do is she had one very odd relationship with one of her owners. And what Julie and I did, we did like a couple home visits. We sat and we talked with the owners, and what we did, and we really applied a bunch of structure into Fergie's life. And honestly, structure is what saved their home life. I mean, this dog, like the owner couldn't even sit on the couch without the dog just growling at her, and baring teeth, and it was just odd. So what we really did is we just set in a bunch of structure. We set in a bunch of like just a very like clear pattern. We set some boundaries up, and Fergie thrived. And the last lesson that we went to, you would have thought that was a completely different dog. We were like, "Where is Fergie?" Like,
That's good.
where is Fergie? Like, she was jumping all over her owner. She wasn't, restless. She wasn't just, she even went and placed herself on her place cot a couple of times and just relaxed. So that comes back to dog doing nothing, and just being able to relax. So I think she was one of my favorite cases as far as watching her go from this extremely confused dog to like this dog who now knows she has a structure in place. She has a pattern. She has like like a timeline and stuff that she's actually supposed to be doing. She knows what's going to happen next. She doesn't have to guess anymore. So I really like that we implemented that structure for both her and her family, and now they're so much happier. And I think that's my favorite part of doing this is seeing how the owners can completely transform their home life and completely transform their life there with their dog, and seeing how this just makes them so much more happy.
That's what I was gonna add actually, is I think my favorite part of that case in particular was how much the owners were willing to
Yeah.
change,
That's great.
years of they've done it a certain way. I think they mentioned that both of them grew up with dogs, and so it's not owning dogs was not a new concept, but it was just this particular dog, Fergie, was extremely complicated to deal with because she was a rescue and she just started displaying those behaviors about 2 months into them being with her. And so um, you could tell that they were willing to just put in all the efforts, put in the efforts, the change. And from one home lesson to the next home lesson, you they were just so thrilled to explain to me and Mo, like, hey, this is what we did and this is what we changed. This is how things are now. And oh my gosh, she's a different dog and this and that. And so in that respect, it just goes to show that as trainers, we can go on all day and give you all kinds of advice. But if you yourself don't apply that advice, there's not going to be as drastic of a change, right?
Yes.
And so with them, they did that. They went out of their way to change things in their life in terms of how they decided to take care of her and do things with her. And that was pretty cool thing,
That's
you know?
good, Fergie.
Awesome. It was so great.
So the first day you got Fergie, did you do anything different than you do with other dogs, or is it all still?
She was one of those little bit more unsure dogs. She was definitely a little bit more anxious. She wasn't very like happy go lucky.
Yeah.
Like she didn't want to like, rub all over me, just be like, a happy dog. So we really spent a lot of time building a relationship. And just really making sure that, she felt comfortable with me and vice versa, because she was a little weird sometimes.
Yeah.
So it was good that, we just really built that relationship first. So we worked a lot on that. A little bit of play, just, like affection, stuff like that.
So every dog's a little different
Every dog
and
is a little
during
different.
training.
Yep.
So
I had to completely turn off what I had from the last dog when I go get my other dog out.
Yeah.
So everything is separate.
Yep. So someone that wants to be a dog trainer but that can't, I don't even know what the word is, flow, or they want every A, B, and C to get to D. That's
like
not dog
A,
training.
F.
Oh, yeah.
That is not
Dog
C
training.
again.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's all over the place.
So dog trainers have to be self-thinkers, but they also have to be willing to go ask help. So
I think the thing is with a trainer, being a trainer, you have to learn to, just like you were saying, you do have to learn to go with the flow, because I know, at least for me in the beginning of my training career, I was very particular in terms of, depending on the dogs that I had, I would wake up every day and kind of write down like a training plan. And then I started getting those kinds of dogs that started doing stuff that just came out of nowhere. And I was like, I was not prepared for that at all, right? You're exactly. You're like, okay,
throw that in the garbage.
right. And so you eventually learn that you just gotta take it for what it is. You gotta train the dog that's in front of you and just go with the flow. That's the best way that I can put that.
Yeah.
And sometimes things are not gonna go the way that you plan it, and that's completely fine, so long as you still find a way to make the situation a training moment, you know?
Yeah, every situation is a training moment for sure. Every situation.
Every time you have that leash in your hand, training moment.
Training moment.
And so what is one of your favorite training puppies? And how'd you get it to pick a different one?
One of my favorite training puppies, I think I'm gonna have to pick Scotch. I know.
So cool.
He was my favorite. He was about 7 or 8 months old, a Weimaraner. And
you said that amazing, because I cannot say that.
Awesome.
Yes, I cannot say that.
Wow.
And he was with me for 4 weeks. And I just absolutely loved the progress of that dog. I mean, from that first week, I could tell that I was going to have a lot of fun with my training experience with him. And by the second week, when I started going on field trips and things like that, I was able to go at a speed that was relatively faster than most dogs that I had trained so far. And so with him, I was starting to do off leash things, by the end of the second week, beginning of the third week, but it was so reliable that it was just, I trusted that dog.
Yeah.
It was really cool.
I really, really enjoyed working with that dog, and he was smart. And he also, kind of similar to Fergie, like whenever I first started working with him, he was psychotic, like just like all over the place.
He looked
And he had
crazy.
those crazy crack eyes,
Oh my
and you're just
goodness,
wondering. And then over time, because I'm very, I mean, like most trainers, I would assume, I'm very particular with like my structure and the way that I do things. So like if I'm done training with a dog, I will put them up either in their crate or in the kennels, depending on how they are. If they're weird in the kennels, I will have them in my crate in my office. And so with him, you could tell over like a week to 2 weeks, he was starting to feel calm, just relax. Like he was like, okay, cool. All I got to worry about is listen to this person and do what I'm told. And like, my life will be great, and you could see it that when I started doing things outdoors, letting him go run after birds and do whatever, so long as recalled, oh, you earned your freedom, man. You do whatever you want.
Yeah.
And so in that respect, like he just was a blast to train.
Yeah, I could tell Julie had a blast training him. Like, she loves Scotch.
Yes,
so
I
great
know.
watching that.
I know.
Scotch.
I miss it.
It's fun to have a dog you can push.
Yes.
They just swallow. They just eat up everything. They love it.
Yep.
And those kind of breeds are amazing. Never own one because they're crazy, like you said, Craig. Fun.
Well, what about you?
My favorite kind of I don't know.
Oh,
That was a hard one. Don't ask me questions.
put her on the spot.
I'm thinking, let's see, a dog you probably don't even know. Sparky was a crazy little French bulldog, old owners. That dog was a bulldog, and it did not. If you ever had bulldogs, they're bullheaded and they don't really care about anything. But that dog was fun, and the owner, the same thing. I guess because I like dogs, because the owners are cool too. That makes my favorite dogs. But she learned so well from day one. She just wanted to please, 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 but she still had her weird. She was a weird dog too. I guess all dogs are weird. But anyways, but she was not motivated by anything but love, which was amazing.
Oh, yay.
So she just grew so fast being a bulldog. And it was just fun to see her. Well, it's fun because she would do stuff for me. She would stay for 10 minutes on a place. She would recall, and the owner had the hardest time. And at the end, the owner could do all that stuff. So that was kind of great. But she was an easy dog to train. I shouldn't say that, but she was an easier dog to train. She wasn't like your Fergie. Yeah,
Oh, Fergie.
Fergie. Yeah. Like I'm training a dog now that is English lab, is not motivated by anything. Second day in, and he doesn't want to sit. But we got him on a place yesterday. It took me 2 hours to do it, but he's on a place. He will get on a place. But
yeah, I think that's also a really another important thing to kind of note is that, dogs are not going to progress at the same speed.
That is right.
I mean, even if it took, I've had a dog where the second week it finally took treats for me, and that was like the biggest accomplishment.
Yes.
And I've had a dog where the third week on its last day, I was finally able to go inside the kennel with it. And that was an accomplishment.
Yeah.
So dogs progress at their own speed, but progress isn't linear. Progress isn't, not everybody has the same success or, at the same speed.
Yeah.
So I think, that's where it goes, from turn this dog off because you're with this dog. So don't, compare, other training dogs with the dog that you have.
Yeah.
I think that's probably one of the hardest things to do. And I'll admit it to myself. Sometimes I'll beat myself up for not, doing something at a certain speed.
Yeah.
But it just really comes down to the dog.
Yep.
So
it is. That is very true. Because a 3 or 4 week dog will get there. It might not be as beautiful as the dog you had before, but they will get there. And if it's not, you have to explain to the owners how they can get it there. But what the baddest part is you have dogs you love. You have Goldens. Julie loves the Goldens. and you get a Golden, this Golden, I know I could get him, blah, blah, blah. And you get that Golden. That is not that. It's a completely different dog. It's either doesn't want to work or it's psychotic. So then you got to start think, well, okay, this is just a dog.
I think it's definitely interesting. Like I love the Goldens, but one of the Goldens I've had in the past, she was just way too immature,
Yes.
she was 5-6 months old, but she was not soaking in information at all. And so it took me a lot longer and tested my patience a lot.
Yes.
And so, yeah, it just goes to show that sometimes, even if you have a favorite breed, doesn't mean it's going to work out.
That's right.
Oh, yeah. There's definitely been times where, a dog, might be too young to actually take in that. I actually just had one recently that, I suggest to the owners, let's start in about a month or so because we want this dog to be set up for success. I mean, that dog was literally retaining information for a second and forgot the next second. Like Julie can count for that. Like it was crazy.
It was the cutest band dog.
She was so cute.
She's so cute.
Oh my gosh.
She'll be back.
That it was legitimately immaturity. She just was like, wow, 4.
It was,
look at that.
She was stuck on the buffering screen. Yes. It was funny.
She was cute girl.
She'd look at you with confusion. Like nothing. It was in those thoughts.
Like, huh?
And that's another thing a trainer has to realize, that sometimes you need to step back and tell the owner, we need to wait. We need to not be so into yourself that you think, nope, I'm going to train this dog. Blah. No, it's not you. Yeah. It's not the dog. It's just the timing. You need to, maybe the dog's not ready.
Yeah.
Or change your training program. Like Julie said, you have a plan, and it's not going to work. I think some trainers get stuck on, they need to do X, Y, and Z. And you need to be a person enough to say, nope. That's not going to happen.
You need to learn how to figure it out.
Yeah. And it doesn't reflect you as a trainer. It doesn't reflect anything. It's just that dog in front of you, like you said, and you just have to change your thinking. It is a bad mark, I think, on trainers that don't do that because they're like, I can get a dog to do anything. Well, maybe this dog won't sit for a year.
They'll humble you real fast.
Yes.
They will.
Yeah. And you just have to have temperament to not get frustrated with the dog and realize this is just a living creature that's not a human.
Yeah. I mean, we could tell them spoon means sit. They wouldn't know any
They
different.
don't know.
So
Yeah.
Mr. Sing Spoon.
I like it. We should do that. Canine culture is changing all the stuff.
the marker words
Place
are
is
not
nice.
food.
Oh my God. That would be hilarious.
Imagine.
Oh, craziness.
Well,
What else is there about training in a day?
one thing I wanted to add from something
Okay.
that you said earlier is how training can be monotonous.
Mhm.
Like it can be boring.
Boring.
And so I think for trainers, sometimes it can be very nice to have weird cases.
Yes.
You know, like
Yeah, I
Those
love
are the
weird
best.
cases. Those
severely,
are my
severely
favorites.
anxious cases, severely aggressive cases, things like that. Now, I'm sure that our current Feisty Fido trainers would say otherwise, because I'm sure that right now, like it can be very exhausting
Yes.
to constantly get aggressive cases all the time.
Yes.
But I definitely feel like even in the dogs that I've trained in the last, I don't know, 2 years, 3 years, I definitely feel more growth from dealing with a dog that is extremely scared of something or is extremely aggressive towards something or someone, than a dog that is just a normal green dog.
Yes.
Like it's
Mhm.
very, it brings a lot of joy, I feel,
Yes.
in that respect.
Yeah, I love working with like dogs that are a little bit more like people selective or aggressive.
Yeah.
I haven't had a feisty, but I have had a couple cases where they didn't like me at first,
Yeah.
and just really gaining that trust is just so rewarding. It's just really rewarding, and I just really enjoy seeing them, because you can see their face, like they have expression, like you can in their body language, if you know how to read dog body language, you can really tell when they start to release that fear and release that tension that they once had with you, and they start to get excited to see you. They start to get happy to do things with you. And I think that's probably one of the most rewarding things when it comes to dogs that are anxious, aggressive, fearful, stuff like that.
So when you decided to be a dog trainer and now today, what is the difference of your mind thinking when you came in for your interview, what you thought a dog trainer was and what actually a dog trainer is?
I never was cocky. I always knew that there was so much more to learn. So coming into this, I came in like as a student, and now like even more so, I think I'm like even more of a student. Like I'm really wanting to learn like every day, like whether it's like a happy dog or a scared dog. I think like the biggest thing that changed was like being a little bit more humble, I guess, and being a lot more willing to take criticism, being willing to take some advice, and also like just kind of letting my guard down more, as a person, because like I'm able to be a lot more open with people, like, and being a lot more open with seeking help, because I struggled with seeking help from people at first, because I guess it was a little bit of pride, but in this job you cannot have that. Like you have to be able to let your pride like go and be able to seek guidance, and I think that was like my biggest thing, was just being able to you know be vulnerable, and be able to just go and get help when needed. And it really helped. It helped a lot with all my training. It helped me learn. It helped me become a better trainer in general. So, and I'm just trying to work my way like to being better and better and learning more and more and more and more. So I think that was like my biggest thing, was humbling myself, and realizing that it's okay to ask for help. And it's okay to be confused.
Yep.
It's okay to not know something.
Yep.
Because then you'll just learn it after.
Yep.
Then you'll know something, then you can put that into the next dog.
Yep.
There's been cases where I had no idea what I was like kind of getting myself into. And then now I have a dog that's like, oh, okay, like I did this with my last dog that worked, so I can do it with this dog.
Yep.
And sometimes it works like that. Sometimes it doesn't, but sometimes it does.
A lot of times it does.
A lot of times it does, especially if they're similar.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that was my biggest thing.
That's really good. So, if our discussion, did you have anything else to say, Miss Julie? Okay. So if our discussion connected with you, I invite you to reach out to us on our website, k-culture.com. Click on Contact Us and enter your dog's training goals, or maybe you just have a question you'd like us to answer on upcoming podcasts. Go ahead and send it on over to our contact team. And be sure to follow us on Instagram and Facebook at K9Culture. Nope. Yeah, K Canine Culture Dog Training DFW for more information. And if you are needing help with your dog, we'd love to help. Contact us through our website or give us a call. We can discuss any issues you're having and how we can help you and your pup with their training journey. And next week, we are going to discuss expectation of an owner if they have a dog in a board and train or any kind of training. So what the expectations that the owner should have during their dog's training cycle. So from all the team here at Canine Culture, we thank you for spending your time with us today. And until next week, go have fun with your dog.